Hi, and welcome to this talk on illusion, the meaning of illusion in a lot of deeper spiritual philosophies, deeper branches of Hinduism, some branches of Buddhism. This idea of illusion is very present. In Hinduism, there is a word maya, which is like illusion. And there is this idea in a lot of these Eastern philosophies that the world and material are illusion. Obviously, on some level, that is not our experience day to day. We are in a very real material world with real consequences, and right now in a capitalist world, money is how we sort of deal with everything for most things. So clearly, you have to keep money in your account or there will be consequences. A wall is hard. You have to drive your car safely. Material is very real on one level. But what is this conversation of illusion pointing to? So we know that if we look at the material world or materiality on a deep enough level or on a sort of minute enough level, with microscopes, etc., we will find that almost everything is space, right? You've heard this before, most likely. If you're watching this video, you're already into these kinds of things, I don't know. And you know that materiality is not as solid as it looks, right? Obviously, between different atoms in a molecule, there's like lots of space between the nucleus and the electrons and the atom. There's a lot of space. It's almost all space. And then if you keep looking further and further and further on a quantum level, you have really weird behavior of quarks, which are the quantum particles. Things don't even really work in a Newtonian way that we are still assuming they do in our day-to-day, which is Newtonian is to say like basic physics, like you push something and it goes in the direction that you've pushed it. Things kind of like move in relatively linear ways or the ways that you'd logically expect. That's a redux description of Newtonian physics. On a quantum level, on a small enough level, things do not behave that way at all. It is still baffling to scientists who are observing this, and it is still completely not integrated with our collective worldview, which is kind of crazy. We have had quantum physics for a long time now, like over 50 years, and it's not really integrated in our understanding of the world. I was never taught anything about quantum physics in school, which is kind of shocking to me. And like its implications for what reality is, that I don't want to get too much into quantum physics because I don't know it well enough to explain it like in detail. I've read a couple books and kind of tried to understand, but there's a lot of, I would say, kind of ugly mixture of quantum science and spirituality. A lot of people kind of appropriate quantum science in a cheap way, I would say, to back up their spiritual message. Definitely, we can say that quantum physics points to the fact that our day-to-day understanding of reality is off. Things are not working on a deep enough or minute enough level the way that we would expect them to. So the world is not as fixed and logical as many would like to think it is. That is definitively there, you could say, in quantum physics. As for what the reality is, it seems like even quantum scientists are not going there because they don't know. From what I understand, it's more like these particles are behaving in ways that we can't understand. We know that they don't behave in the ways that we'd expect, but we're not going to try to come up with like a cosmology, a sort of description of reality based on the behavior of these quantum particles, because we can't even start. We're not going to venture to do that. So to try to use an observation of sort of quantum reality to define a spiritual worldview, probably a little bit sketchy. It seems to me more like something to recognize breaks down our normative paradigm, breaks down our normal understanding of the world. So quantum physics shows us it's not working the way that we think it is. As for how it is working, I would say a much easier way to come into that awareness is coming into yourself, looking deeply within you. You don't need expensive laboratory equipment or training to do that. It is a practice. It is something that if you're not used to doing, you don't really have a lot of ease doing, meditating, coming within. But with more practice, with more kind of just experience of it, it does get easier. And you do have like a sense of navigating your inner space. But it's free, and you can try it, and I would say like it's your birthright. You are born to explore within. It's like moving your body. I mean, that's like one of the most basic things you can do. So if you haven't been exploring within yourself, start. It's your, I don't know, it's like what you are. It's really basic to you. You have every right to do it and kind of a prerogative, kind of a, yeah. So if we talk about illusion in a way that's more direct to us, not this sort of theoretical and abstract understanding that the world, that materiality is not really there the way we think it is, which is intellectually interesting, but maybe practically useless to us. Looking within ourselves, we'll see all sorts of tensions and fixed sort of things come up. So as you look within, you'll start to see expectations come up, beliefs about the world come up. Sort of these things that orient you in the world in a very solid and seemingly, trustworthy, kind of dependable way. The world is like this. But as you look within, you'll start to see those sort of unconscious beliefs about the world arise in you. They're in your body. There's like a physical dimension to this belief. If you haven't experienced it, that sounds very sort of mystically woo-woo. You have to look within. You'll also see tensions and pain arise, things that you haven't sort of processed, right? Baggage, stuff that's happened in your past, maybe that you're holding on to, that you couldn't live through, you couldn't give attention to, you couldn't process when you were living it. So you went through something traumatic, or maybe not even traumatic, just something that was like awful. And you couldn't deal with it in the moment fully. I don't know, or you didn't want to, you ignored it. It wasn't fun to look at. You put your attention elsewhere. That's in you still, and it's probably coloring your worldview. So you probably have beliefs about the world that correspond or relate to this inner weight. This is how a lot of racism comes up in people. This is how a lot of bigotry in general, homophobia. It's kind of general weight that comes from different experiences, and then we kind of randomly associate it, often scapegoat it onto these beliefs, which keeps this energy kind of away from us, right? The problem is not in me. The problem is that gay guy over there, okay? Just disclaimer, I'm gay, so I have a little more space to say this stuff. But that's what I see happen a lot. That people have all these inner tensions that they don't know how to look at. I don't think they even know that they can look at them and let them go. And so they are just kind of putting them elsewhere conceptually to try to deflect, to try to take the pressure off themselves in a day-to-day way. But you also have the option of looking within and letting those things arise. And what is amazing about meditation is that as they do arise, and you continue to look into all these hard and painful and like dense things, they look very solid when they arise. As you continue to observe them, they dissolve. So they're not really as solid or fixed or real as they appear. And in that sense, all your pain, all of that density is an illusion. Again, I'm not saying that it's not real on an experiential level. If you are suffering, the pain is very real. You are feeling it. That feeling is a reality. At the same time, as you look into that density within, looking for a fixed and solid root, it's not there. As you look into it, as you give attention to anything fixed or dense within you, as it arises in your attention, it starts to sort of transform into your attention itself. So another way to say this is that it's maybe an abstract description, but it's very real if you look within. that the tensions within are almost like distortions of the awareness that you are. So it's like if you're this canvas of pure awareness, that canvas has gotten itself all twisted up into these kind of tight shapes. And as you look into those tight kind of twists of energy, they start to relax back into that observing awareness. And there's more openness, more ease, more peace. It doesn't just have to be pain from the past. It can also be a strong sense of identity, or even a light sense of identity. Because that fixed sense of what you are is separating you from the openness of just that plain conscious awareness, of being connected to everything around you, of ease, of sort of your nature. So this is another way to consider this idea of illusion, and I would say a deeper way than just the intellectual exercise of like, the physical world is not what we think it is, which is also true. Broadly, you could sum all this up as a message of impermanence, that the world on a material, observable level is also not fixed because it's all changing. Nothing is there forever. It's all moving. And it's that space between everything, the space between the nucleus and the electrons in the atom, that allows everything to move. It's the space behind all things, or within all things, that allows all that materiality to move and change, that allows impermanence to be what it is, the reality of everything. And as we look within ourselves, we'll find that same space that allows for the impermanence, the changes in our lives, the fluctuations in our emotions. And as we look more and more deeply into that space, sort of that heart of impermanence, we'll see all materiality, all density, anything fixed, even anything painful, start to dissolve, start to transmute into that spaciousness, into that openness itself. And that's sort of the image, ultimately, of enlightenment, of spiritual enlightenment, is that you recognize that ground, that space, is what you are. That spacious ground that allows for impermanence is what you are. That's the life that you are. And everything else was just sort of an event happening in that space. As you see that more and more clearly, all of those events and all of that materiality, all of that solidity in you comes to dissolve into the light that you are. Big idea. Practice it. Look within. See if what you feel, even any physical tensions, any pain, as you look into it, see if there's a change. See if there's some relief that comes from that. And continue to practice that on a deepening level, seeing what comes up, observing, experimenting, playing with it.